The cameras were rolling. The lights were blinding. The crowd was buzzing with energy inside the packed arena of America's Got Talent. All 4 judges were seated, their faces expectant. Simon Cowell leaned back in his chair with that familiar look of calm confidence. He's seen thousands of singers, hundreds of dreamers, and he knows how to tell who's just ordinary and who's extraordinary. But tonight, what he didn't know was that a young girl from the streets of Cebu, Philippines, was about to walk onto that stage and change everything. The stage door opened quietly. A small figure walked in. She was wearing a simple white dress, slightly faded but clean. Her long black hair was tied in a loose ponytail. She didn't have a stylist. She didn't have makeup. She didn't have designer shoes. All she had was a voice and a dream she'd carried her entire life. Her name was Angelica. She was just 14 years old. Simon leaned forward, squinting slightly. How far this little girl had come to stand here, in front of him, was written all over her nervous smile. Sofia Vergara gave a soft encouraging nod. Heidi Klum tilted her head, curious. Howie Mandel whispered something to Simon, making the crowd giggle a little. The host asked her gently, "Where are you from?" Angelica held the microphone tightly in both hands. Her voice was soft, almost trembling. "I'm from Cebu, in the Philippines." The audience clapped warmly. Simon asked again, "How old are you?" 14, she answered. "And what are you going to sing for us tonight?" She took a deep breath. "A song that I've always loved, one I used to sing to myself when I was alone." What she didn't say was that those lonely moments were many. She grew up in a small neighborhood in Cebu, where every day was a struggle. Her father worked as a tricycle driver, her mother sold vegetables at the market. They barely made enough to eat, but her parents never stopped believing in her. From the time she was little, she would sing on the street corners, in front of small shops, sometimes even inside jeepneys. People would drop coins in a little plastic cup while she sang her heart out. Music was her escape from the hunger, the noise, the chaos. On the stage, the music began to play. It was a powerful ballad, one that required real emotion, real power. Her fingers trembled on the microphone. She closed her eyes. Then she began to sing. The first note was pure. So clear, so unexpected, it cut through the entire arena like a beam of light. The audience went silent. Even Simon raised his eyebrows slightly. Within seconds, her voice filled every corner of the room. It was powerful, raw, emotional. She sang as if the entire world was listening for the very first time. Her small frame belied a voice that carried pain, hope, and strength. She didn't just sing the words, she lived them. Every lyric seemed to tell a story of nights spent dreaming in the dark, of mornings waking up to a life that tried to silence her, of a little girl who refused to give up. Halfway through the song, the crowd erupted in applause. People were already standing. One woman in the audience wiped tears from her eyes. Simon leaned forward, his hand pressed against his lips. He didn't smile, not yet, but that look, that intense stare, meant one thing: he was impressed. He'd heard 1,000 singers, but very few who made him feel something deep. The high note came. Angelica closed her eyes and let it out. It soared, it shook the room. It was perfect. Then silence. Then the entire audience exploded into cheers. People stood up, clapping, screaming, whistling. Sofia rose to her feet immediately. Heidi clapped her hands above her head. Howie shouted "wow," so loudly it echoed through the arena. And Simon Cowell, Simon, who is known for being the hardest to please, slowly stood up too. Angelica opened her eyes and gasped. She'd dreamed of this moment, but never imagined it would actually happen. Simon was standing. This was the same man who had discovered countless superstars, who had crushed dreams with brutal honesty, who rarely showed emotion. But here he was, standing for her. Tears welled up in her eyes as the crowd kept cheering. Sofia was the first to speak. "Oh my gosh, you're 14. That was incredible. You have a gift, a true gift." Heidi followed. "I have goosebumps everywhere. You didn't just sing. You touched every soul in this room." Howie said, "You are proof that no matter where you come from, talent can break every wall." Then it was Simon's turn. He stared at her for a moment, still standing. "I remember every great singer who's ever stood on this stage. But very few made me feel like this. You have something no one can teach." You have a voice that's meant to be heard by the world. I think we just found something very, very special." The crowd roared again. And then, as the music swelled and Angelica tried to process what she'd just heard, Simon slowly reached his hand toward the golden buzzer. Angelica gasped. The audience screamed. His hand pressed down. Confetti exploded into the air like a golden storm. The music blasted through the speakers. Angelica fell to her knees, covering her mouth as tears streamed down her face. Her dream had just come true. The judges rushed toward her. The host hugged her tightly. The golden confetti rained over her hair, stuck to her dress, sparkled under the stage lights. Simon walked up to her with a rare, genuine smile. He leaned down and whispered, "You are a superstar." That single moment would go viral around the world. Within hours, millions of people would watch the video online. Comments poured in from everywhere. People from the Philippines, from the United States, from Europe, from places Angelica had never even heard of. They all said the same thing. Her voice gave them chills. But behind this powerful moment was a lifetime of struggle. Angelica grew up in a house made of wood and tin. When it rained, water leaked through the roof. She often sang to drown out the sound of the storm. Her parents would look at her with quiet pride. They didn't have money, they didn't have opportunities, but they had faith in her voice. When she received the invitation to audition, her father sold his old motorcycle to buy plane tickets. Her mother gave her a small gold necklace, the only piece of jewelry she owned. Angelica carried it with her as a reminder of home. She was scared when she boarded the plane. It was her first time leaving the Philippines. She didn't know if she could make it. But she told herself one thing over and over again: if I sing from my heart, maybe they'll listen. And they did. Back on the AGT stage, Simon was giving an interview after the show. When asked what made him press the golden buzzer, he said, "Sometimes, a voice hits you in a way that makes everything else fade away. That girl has the kind of talent you don't find every day. She's not just a singer. She's a once-in-a-generation star." From that night on, Angelica became a global sensation. Television shows invited her to perform. Record labels called. People compared her to Celine Dion, Whitney Houston, Lisa Longa. But Angelica never forgot who she was. She still spoke with humility, still wore her simple smile. She told every reporter who asked, "I sing because it's the only way I know how to share my soul." Her parents watched her performances on a small TV in their home in Cebu. Neighbors gathered around to cheer. For them, she wasn't just their daughter. She was their pride, their hope. In the following weeks, Angelica returned to AGT for the live shows. This time, she wore a slightly more glamorous dress, but her heart was the same. She stood on that stage again, singing like it was her last day on earth. Every performance left the judges stunned. Simon became one of her biggest supporters. He coached her, guided her, gave her advice. He told her, "Never lose that part of you that makes you different. That's your power." And she didn't. Her voice grew stronger with each round. The audience grew louder. People flew from different states just to watch her sing live. She became a symbol of hope for children around the world who came from nothing but dared to dream. On the night of the finals, the arena was brighter than ever. The tension was electric. Angelica stood center stage, holding the microphone with steady hands. This time, she wasn't the scared little girl from the audition. She was ready. She sang a song that told her entire story. The struggle, the hope, the dream. The sound of her voice soared to the very top of the arena. Even the judges seemed lost in her performance. When she finished, the audience didn't just applaud, they roared. It was thunderous. People were crying, hugging strangers, waving flags of the Philippines. Simon stood again, clapping slowly, looking proud. The host announced the results. The top 3 names were called. Angelica's name was there. The audience screamed louder. And when the winner was finally revealed, the little girl from Cebu wasn't just a contestant anymore. She was a star. Even though she didn't need a trophy to prove it, that night was proof that dreams don't care where you come from. They only care how hard you're willing to fight for them. Years later, people would still watch that audition. The moment Simon Cowell pressed the golden buzzer. The moment the world heard the voice of a poor girl from Cebu and realized they were witnessing history. In interviews, Simon would say, "That audition is one of the best moments I've ever had on this show. Angelica would smile humbly and say, "I just wanted to make my family proud." Today, she performs on stages she once only saw on TV. She sings in front of thousands, but she never forgets that small house in Cebu where it all began. She never forgets the sound of the rain on the roof, or the way her parents looked at her with so much hope. And every time she sings, it's not just for herself. It's for every little child who thinks dreams are too far away. She is living proof that dreams have wings. Simon once said, "A real superstar is someone who doesn't just sing, but makes people feel something unforgettable." That night, Angelica did exactly that. And the world will never forget it. Thank you for watching. If you believe in dreams, if you believe in the power of music, make sure to like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to this channel for more inspiring stories that the world needs to hear. Because somewhere out there, another little girl is dreaming. And one day, she'll stand on a stage like this.